Hey guys, new project in the shop. We got a truck camper that I purchased for next to nothing here. And it obviously, as you can see from the metal dangling down, needs a lot of work. These older ones tend to all leak in the front and into the bed area. And But what's interesting about this one is I have a little Ford Ranger, and it's the first small camper that I've seen that actually fits in my step side Ford Ranger, and it also has a very small toilet and weighs around 1,000 pounds. So first thing I actually had to do to get it to lower. See, I got it in my garage here by lowering it onto a smaller trailer, and I actually had to deflate the tires to this trailer pretty much flat, and I managed to just pass it through a normal sized garage door. So then I can fix it out of the elements. So I'll give you a quick tour of the inside. So this is the back side. I actually took the door off to get the fridge out. The fridge wasn't working. I'm gonna try to flip that upside down, see if I can get that to go again, but I think it's shot. Probably gonna have to put another one in there. I think it might have leaked out the ammonia in there. So I do have a smaller absorption fridge that I kept from another project, so I'll probably end up putting that in. So it used to be a little table here, so this is what it looks like when you come in. You got your cabinetry there on the left. You got a furnace in this thing. We got a 2-burner stove, sink. We got a water tank underneath this cabinet. Looks to be fairly large size. Over here, that's just where your divan would be. Nice big window on the side, and this little cabinet here actually serves as a very small washroom. There you go. No shower, but I was thinking if I put a curtain in here and remove that toilet with the tank and put a cassette toilet, I might be able to extend into this room with a curtain and maybe a composite pan, and build a small shower. I'd have to waterproof everything, but anyway, at least it has the toilet, which is great for not having to come out of this thing in the middle of the night to go take a leak or other things. Now, here's the big problem. Obviously, as you can see, it leaked. The whole roof leaked, and I think it's coming out of this vent here and leaked down onto the bed area. You can see right through. I have my tractor in the garage here, but basically I just took out this plywood by removing the panel underneath, the paneling, and then remove the sheet. So that allows me to work standing up from outside. And what I'm gonna have to do is replace some of this structure on this side. I'm gonna remove the paneling on that side, and hopefully that one's not too rotted out and only needs the exterior paneling. Probably change the insulation in there if anything was wetted or whatever in the past. And then I'll rebuild a structure for the whole ceiling, and we're gonna try to do something that's solid, not looking for perfection. This is sort of gonna be one of those weekender fishing trip type camper tops. So I just want to make it all out of plywood and paint it white or something like that, and just so it's clean and dry and solid, you know. But I'm not gonna get too fancy. I'll probably just paint everything in here, actually. Any paneling that I judge that needs to be removed because it's been has a possibility of having mold or anything like that in there, I'll remove, rip out, and replace with just 1/4-inch plywood and paint it white. So that's the project. It's kind of neat little truck camper that fits on a very small truck. I think they made these for Tacomas and smaller trucks of that sort back in the day. I think it's late 80s. I thought I saw 89 in there in on one of the data plates. But yeah, lots of work. The squirrels actually went into the fridge area they got in from the top and ripped away some of the insulation and chewed some of the wiring. So I'll have to replace all that wiring and make sure that it's safe as well. But yeah, it's you could say it's a bit of a big project, but it's gonna be nice when I'm done, and I'm not gonna spend too much money still. It's mostly just plywood and 2x4s and paint, you know. And then I'll try to recuperate all the paneling and use some of my sealants that I've picked up expired from work as usual. If you've seen any of my other videos, I usually try to recover a lot of stuff that's given to me from places where they can't use it anymore. Anyways, I'll keep you posted and meet you back at the next step. Quick little thing that I did here. In order to be able to lower this onto a trailer, these feet didn't lower low enough. So I adapted these big steel plates onto the existing support structure, and that way it was basically starting from a higher point without having to cut these tubes, because I don't want to ruin these nice telescoping feet. So I just cut up a big piece of steel I had in the shop here that was left over from another structural project, and just cut it in half and used, you know, one on each feet, and I just drilled 2 holes on top and somewhat lower, and this allows me to actually even add more holes. If I want to go even lower, like to ground level, I could drill a couple of holes even lower and then have it sit on something at a higher point, then just pop these 2 bolts off, then transfer them onto the bottom 2 holes, and then lower it even lower. So that will serve that purpose. And these get removed from this camper because they just add weight, and you want to keep this thing as light as possible because it's made for a small truck. So you'd take these off and just have to leave the camper on during your trip. It's no big deal. So yeah, I thought I'd show. All right, here we are back inside the RV. As you can see, as I was showing earlier, I've got the front skin, the lower skin removed, so it allows me to stand and work in here, which gives me all kinds of access to work standing up quite comfortably. So what I've done is stripped away most of the paneling, and now allows me to kind of start splicing and rebuilding the structure. Luckily, it doesn't go behind this cabinet here. I think this piece I'll be able to splice like I just did here and reinforce. These ones all get replaced. Up here too will all get replaced. Everything that's rotten. But I wanted to start building it before ripping everything off, because it can probably get quite confusing if you just rip everything out, because you want it to fit perfectly when you're done. I do have a good side that I can compare and measure from, but still I'd prefer to do it exactly the way it was, using the existing structure as templates. And so I'm going to start rebuilding. I'll start by cutting this piece and screwing that in, and that'll just give me like some sort of base to start from. And then rather than putting staples on each side, I'm probably going to put some plates, probably like galvanized plates or something, to tie them together, just like plates with screws. And yeah, I'll start going like that. And then once this piece is nice and solid again, I will focus on the ceiling and rip out some more of that as well. I might actually peel it back to some degree up on top, so I can get access from the top. I think it'd be easier because that skid up on top is actually one piece, so this vent needs to be changed anyway, and I need to change these screws that come through here anyway, so I'll probably just end up peeling the skin back and going as far as I can see that it's been wetted and rotten, and then replace it all from the top so it avoids destroying the interior, which some of it can be salvaged. I've noticed that some of this stuff has been wetted, but the wood is actually quite solid and not moldy or anything in most cases. So the only area aside from the roof that I'll need to hit as well later on is there's an inside of a cabinet up on the floor, down on the floor, that also needs some work. I'll probably end up jacking this thing up as high as I can get it and open it up from the bottom and trying to fix that from underneath. I'm sure it'll go probably further than what I think, but you know, it is what it is. This is exactly what I was expecting. It's not my first camper that I'm fixing, so we'll carry on. Here we are again, like halfway through the rebuilding of the structure on this left side, and thought I'd show you guys as I'm building this, basically taking one piece off at a time, measuring it, cutting it to shape and putting it in, and then cutting some more off and continuing progressively like that, so that you know, you don't lose the pattern as you're going up. The skin on the outside kind of holds the shape, but you know, that's how I'm progressing here, and it's working out quite well, so we'll keep on trucking. All right, here we are, about a day and a half progress here. Did a bit of the front, and now I gotta kind of do that curved piece there and around the window. So there you go, keep on going. All right, here we are again, and I've gone a little further with removing some of this metal and window and everything, just the way this thing is built, it's difficult to patch it from the inside. So they actually install this, what they call Luan, some, you know, very thin type plywood thing. They install it flat onto this part, and then they build on top, and they foam, like, you know, with the gravity helping them in that way. So so that's what I'm gonna do as well. I figured, you know, trying to squeeze that in from the inside, you'd have to cut it, so it's just easier to remove the metal. It gets kind of intimidating when you start having to tear it apart this bad, but it'll do a much better job in the end, really. And I've only got about 2 days into this so far, so I got several hours ahead of me here, and I think I'll be able to put this first plywood down, or Luan I think they call it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach the structure to it and lay it down. I'll show you guys right after I put the wood on how that has to be done. So keep on rolling and keep the beer going. All right, back. So I don't know if you kind of see what I mean here, but basically I cut down this piece on a table to the correct size, and then I screwed in from the other side these cross beams, which are 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch. It's basically copied the ones that used to be there, and I screwed them on from before putting it onto the camper. So now I just flipped it around and screwed it back down. And it gave all that contour. It bends quite well, actually. There's a pretty tight turn on the top, and I heard it kind of crunch a little bit, but didn't really crack it. So that's what it looks like on the inside. tried to space out the screws all even too to make it look a little nicer in the end. And I just paint these over, and I'll have to frame out the window and cut out the window as well. So one thing also that I did, this is kind of a mistake, is I cut them out. I cut them down to 1 1/4 inch in this way, but I should have done it both ways because it actually made this wider. So now I have to cut into this for the window to clear. So little minor detail, quick fix. I'll cut that up with a jigsaw later on, and it'll be good. But otherwise, everything's going well. Question is, how many cases of beer is it gonna take for it to finish, for me to finish it? All right, this is shortly after cutting up my foam and shooting some expanding foam. This is what I did here. I just cut the foams. I had pieces of a sheet, so that's why it's kind of all in pieces, and I actually had enough to do a whole top with that. So I don't even think I'll have to buy any more. I had that left over from something else. But anyways, you see the idea of how I went about and do this. I actually took some construction glue and glued down the foams to the Luan down before, and then left cracks big enough so I could fill the voids with expanding foam. Now, this actually becomes quite strong once everything is foamed and everything is sort of glued and holding. It becomes like a sandwich of material, and it adds a lot of strength to all this. So especially on the sides, because they by filling out the gaps, it reduces the flex inside of those joists. So it's kind of like what they did in the past. Original, they filled them out completely. On the other side, they're not so full, so they actually did the same thing. They filled it out from the outside. Anyway, so that's how that looks. So now next is tackling the ceiling here. I'm gonna have to peel that back some more and rip some of that out, and hopefully it's not too bad back there. All right, here we are back at the roof of the camper. As you can see, the foam has been installed in the front part of this, and now we'll just peel away the skin on the roof. So to do that, I had to unscrew basically all the screws. There's like these rails here, and the screws are running along them, so you just have to remove all of them and then peel it back. It's pretty difficult sometimes with all the years of sealant piled one on top of each other for years. It gets to be a pain in the ass to remove, but it's not horribly difficult. It's just time consuming. And this is what we're left with. Obviously the whole front part here is already gone, and I just kind of ripped away a couple of pieces here, but looks like I'm gonna have to change this sheet and probably the next one after that. And we're gonna be using plywood instead of this press wood. Probably make it slightly more strong and a little bit more resistant to water for the future, but hopefully water will never get into it again while I own it anyway. So that's where we're at. We'll keep going. All right, here we are after removing the wood on top of the roof. Actually removed that side also, but I had to move the skin. It's a really big piece, so it's hard to find a spot to put it. I'm actually gonna leave it up there. But yeah, this is basically similar to the front area where I'll have to basically build it from upside down. I'll have to put the Luan down and then maybe screw in the cross 2x2s before laying it on top of the roof, and then just adding in until it's done. So I'll have to remove all of this. And what's a little more difficult here is there's wiring a little more wiring to worry about, so I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna route that back into the new roof. But yeah, that's it's mostly rotten on one side, but it also got to the interior panel on the inside, so so that needs to be changed for sure. Like you might have been able to splice, but if it wasn't for the lower interior Luan panel, you could have done that, but I have to take it all off anyway, so I might as well change everything. There you go. All right, so here we go. I've got part of the roof here on a table, and I'm just going to show how I do this. So I just basically laid it out on top of a new Luan sheet, and making lines, just tracing it out, you know, just where the vent is, I traced, and where the sheet is. And then what I'm gonna do after that is basically copy this thing. And to lighten the load, this actually had a 3/8 press wood plywood on the roof, but in my application using this camper, I don't think that's going to be necessary, because I'm going to remove also the bars and everything that was on the roof except for the vents, just to reduce the weight, and remove this sheet, and then just screw on the aluminum sheet directly onto the frame here, obviously in the same location as it was prior. And I think that'll provide plenty of strength. I might add a few screws. Obviously it's not really tempting to screw into through the top skin, but it'll add some strength to this whole assembly, and I don't think I'll need any more than that. I'm not going to be walking on this roof after I'm done, you know. And you can reach from each side with a ladder to be able to reseal anything you want. So you could actually hop on to areas of the roof still, as long as you're careful and you look at where you walk, you could still do it. But yeah, that's how I rebuild the roof sections. All right, we're about 4 days into this, and about a case of beer. And so I got the whole roof back positioned on, not completely reframed yet, as you can see, but I've actually put in a piece in the back, and now I just did this piece in the front. There's actually a tiny little section behind that skin there to rebuild also, but that's how it looks. It's kind of tricky to get everything to fall exactly back in the same spot, so when you roll that skin back down, that the holes align. I had to do some test fits, and so I actually temporarily screwed in the skin into the previous holes where it was holding, and then rolled it back down and checked to make sure that everything was lined up. And I actually traced onto the piece of wood. So since there's a curve into this as well, it can get kind of tricky. But anyway, so that's where we are now. Just gonna keep building the roof here, and looking forward to putting that foam down and screwing that skin down, because it's quite a mess here. As you can see, those are pieces of the old stuff, and I'm using it as a guide to look how it was made right now, but looking forward to throwing all that out and cutting it up and trashing it. Anyways, so we'll keep on going. All right, here we are back on the roof, just after shooting the foam insulate, the expanding foam around all these styrofoam boards that I glued on the roof, you know. So this is the way I decided to do it. That's 1 inch R5 25 millimeter foam. I took some construction glue and glued the foams down onto the roof, and then left about a 1/4 inch gap around, so I could then go ahead and shoot the expanding foam around and make it all nice and tight. And it'll also give it a little bit of structural strength, having that be completely glued down and sealed all around. Makes it a nice snug fit, so prevents it from bending as much as it would with soft insulation. Anyway, also the wiring, I had a hell of a time removing some of it so I could reroute it through the frame. I had to splice it. Well, I didn't actually splice it. I removed it at an existing outlet inside and pulled it through this wall, but I had to destroy some of the foam insulation inside this wall to be able to get it loose so I could pull it through and then pull it through back and then re-drill all the holes through the new frame. And once I had it out, it was easy, but I'm trying to not pull away much of this aluminum siding, because what's weird about this, if you'd be finishing with the top, that would be fine, but the first piece that actually goes on to these is the top. So if you'd want to properly restaple it like it was from factory, I'd have to remove the whole side. So I'll have to come up with some sort of fastening system. I might just put a screw right through and seal it afterwards, but yeah, you don't want to take away too much, because I don't want to have to rip away the entire wall siding. Already I got the roof to do, and I want to avoid damaging it as well. So that's so this is the front part, still the back part to some framing to do still, and also foaming and everything. The wiring got to be run on the back as well. But what I'm going to do is actually screw it onto the back there. I'm going to unroll it once I get this foam, expanding foam, file to cut away the excess. I'm going to unroll this metal and screw it in the front, and then so it ends up in its correct position, and then undo it from the back and roll it forward and then carry on the back. So it should end up exactly in the same spot as it was using that technique anyway. So because I'm using the back existing holes, since I didn't tear that completely back there, I didn't tear it out yet. So that's the way I'm doing that. So almost done. Just gotta trim this away and carry out with the back, and then I can finally start thinking about working on the inside finally. All right, here we are with the aft section of the camper all completely rebuilt, re-insulated, and I decided finally to keep this little section in the back, because really didn't look damaged at all or soaked in water or anything. So I had to keep that because there's quite a bit of wiring going through. And so there she is. So I'm just about to roll down the metal back down, start cleaning up all these this old sealant, and resealing the whole roof. And that's the result, and that's what it looks like. Very happy. All right, here we are below the bed area of the camper, and I just made the plywood pieces that will go basically supporting the bed. And thought I'd show you guys what I did, because it was a little wider than a one full sheet, so I had to strengthen that joint, because there's a lot of weight that this has to carry. So what I use is one of these, it's actually just something I had lying around. It's to put on the floor when you got two different types of flooring coming together. Just I forget the name, but it's kind of thick. So I basically just flipped it upside down and countersunked a bunch of holes, and then put some short screws in there, and I'll strengthen the joint. Before I put it down, I also grooved it with a little trim router. I just took a trim router, set it to low, just to cut up a small groove in there, marked it, and just passed a couple of passes, and that allowed me to sink that in. So that's how I built the floor. And on the inside is actually a sheet of Luan in there. If you look in there, there's a sheet in there as well. So the joint, well, I reversed it on the top, so that the top piece of Luan actually gives it a little strength, and I glued it and screwed it down as well, so that adds a little bit of strength as well to the whole thing. So this is how the front end looks. Still got one small section of sheeting to go down and just a small pieces of insulation to put in there, but after that it's pretty much the front part is done, and then I can start putting the metal back on the top all the way down underneath and everything. So that's where we are now. I'll see you later. All right, here we go. We got the metal all back down, windows screwed in, some of the wiring all prepped there to put on the new lights when I get those. So I thought I'd show you guys what I'm doing here for sealing. So like this window here, I just sealed it all around. A good edge. I clean this underneath first, and then eventually I won't be putting that rubber cover on there. I'll just seal right above this, you know, because I want to maximize the minimize the possibility actually for this to ever leak again. So I'm gonna seal the crap out of it everywhere here also. Like, I'm gonna not put the rubber strip back in and just completely fill all this in with sealant, paintable sealant, and once I'm completely done with all that, I will just paint it all over with white. I will be also, because I do have some pinholes in some areas on this top skin and also on the bottom one, just under the bed. I will be using some sort of bed lining, for truck bed lining, thick paint on this to try to fill in these pinholes, and probably roll that on a few coats on the front section up to the top aluminum and underneath, and then after that's all applied, I'll be painting it all together with the rest of the camper. So I got all the metal down, trim, had to straighten all these pieces back up and screwed them all back in, and she's looking pretty good. Even that top vent I repaired. That top vent was probably the source of most of the leaks. It actually had a cracked, this is like what it takes to rebuild one of these campers. See that? All that beer? There you go. So this piece here was cracked in several areas like that, and I think a lot of the water was coming in from this, and this was built into the vent. And it's quite expensive to buy these. They're like exit vents. They're used as an emergency exit. And if you want to buy the entire thing, because you can't just, well, I couldn't find it anyway, just this piece, it's like it'll run you a couple $100, maybe even 300 here in Canada, by the time you get the conversion and everything. So the other pieces were all good, so I just made a piece like this out of some aluminum. So I have access to a aluminum bender, so I bent to 90 going like this, and then a little 90 going on the inside, and a straight piece going down. And I'll show you inside the camper and what that looks like. And it turned out pretty good. So that's kind of what that looks like. You see how I riveted it in the corners. So that's the straight piece. And then there's a little angle so that the screen sits on, and on the outside there's also the big angle. So I decided to just repair it to save myself a couple $100. Like on these projects, if you don't watch your money, you can spend a lot of money on stuff like that. So that's how it looks on the top. So obviously all this still all has to be sealed. So we'll be completing this video. It's getting pretty long at this point. So I just wanted to show how to basically rebuild the framing of this camper and tips and tricks on that and how I did it. Does not necessarily mean that this is the right way to do it, but pretty sure what I've done here will be long-lasting repair. And in the next video, I'll be kind of doing more of the painting, how to paint one of these. So I got into it a little bit on how I'm going to do that, but I'll shoot a few videos and show you guys the progress on the paint job and what it's going to look like in the end when I get to it. So if you like these types of videos, and I really appreciate like and subscribe. I'll be posting more in the future and continue on with these crazy projects that I have. This one is a pretty long lasting one, so it'll be a little while before I start posting more, but it'll probably be the next one, maybe the paint on this. And I have a couple other ones I'm working on as well. But yeah, so I appreciate all the support, and like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.